Let's get this fired off.
67.
And
Page 59.
I think it's on
Well, mine doesn't work that way, mine says 119.
is it 24? Is that
You're
the
right.
one we're on, 24?
14,
14.
Huh?
14.
chapter 14.
yeah,
I'm way ahead.
Good.
Okay.
okay, Sharon, chapter 14.
Okay. Happy are those who do not blunder with their lips and need not suffer remorse for sin. Happy are those whose hearts do not condemn them and who have not given up their hope. Riches are inappropriate for a small-minded person, and of what use is wealth to a miser? What he denies himself he collects for others, and others will live in luxury on his goods. If one is mean to himself, to whom will he be generous? He will not enjoy his own riches. No one is worse than one who is grudging to himself. This is a punishment for his meanness. If ever he does good, it is by mistake, and in the end he reveals his meanness. The miser is an evil person. He turns away and disregards people. The eye of the greedy person is not satisfied with his shame. Greedy injustice withers the soul. A miser begrudges bread, and it is lacking at his table. My child, treat yourself well according to your means, and present worthy offerings to the Lord. Remember that death does not tarry, and the decree of Hades has not been shown to you. Do good to friends before you die, and reach out and give to them as much as you can. Do not deprive yourself of a day's enjoyment. Do not let your share of desired good pass by you. Will you not leave the fruit of your labors to another, and what you acquired by toil to be divided by lot? Give and take and indulge yourself, because in Hades one cannot look for luxury. All living beings become old like a garment, for the decree from of old is you must die. Like abundant leaves on a spreading tree that sheds some and puts forth others, so are the generations of flesh and blood. One dies and another is born. Every work decays and ceases to exist, and the one who made it will pass away with it. The happiness of seeking wisdom. Happy is the person who meditates on wisdom and reasons intelligently, who reflects in his heart on her ways and ponders her secrets, pursuing her like a hunter and lying in wait on her paths. Who peers through her window and listens at her doors, who camps near her house and fastens his tent peg to her walls, who pitches his tent near her and so occupies an excellent lodging place, who places his children under her shelter and lodges under her boughs, who is sheltered by her from the heat and dwells in the midst of her glory.
How come it's always negative when it's masculine? And it's very positive when it's in the feminine.
You've been married, you know.
Whoever wrote this must have been too, huh?
The verse 18 where it talks about the thick foliage of a growing tree, one crop of leaves, that was also used in Homer's Iliad, which I would mention was Greek. And the person who translated from Hebrew to Greek for Ecclesiasticus obviously would have known Homer's Iliad. So he's stealing liberally from things that people would identify with.
That was with verse what?
18
Okay.
says the thick foliage of a growing tree, one crop of leaves fall, and another grows instead. So the generations of flesh and blood pass, with the death of one and the birth of another. It's really an upscale type piece of reading, isn't it? You know, that's like saying, well, your exit is coming up. Better get in the right-hand lane. He makes a hard thing on miserly, being miserly. Again, Luther would probably have a problem with that because, well, he may not have a problem. What Ecclesiasticus is saying is that, you know, if it's bad if you're miserly, so you ought to be generous. Luther said, don't be generous to earn God's favor, but once you have God's favor, then you should be generous. So it is not proper for a mean man, to be rich. What is the money to a miser? He deprives himself only to hoard for another man. Others will live in luxury on his riches. How can a man be hard on himself and kind to others? If you take that with verse 18, what it's saying is, you can have all the money in the world, but guess what? You're going to be leaving it behind. When your leaves fall, somebody else's leaves will start blossoming. Another way of saying, you can't take it with you. You know, when you see a hearse going down the highway, very seldom do you see a Brinks truck driving behind it.
Or a U-Haul truck with all,
Or, yeah.
with all your treasures. It's
That's
not
right.
important. Well, 16 says, give and take, indulge yourself, because in Hades one cannot look for luxury.
Yeah.
So I guess it's saying there, if you have means, it's fine to indulge yourself to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you've got it, take care of yourself. But don't just hoard it.
Yeah.
Man's body wears out like a garment. Boy, don't we know that. Heather, that's something for you to look forward to.
I feel it already. Beginning stages.
So, anyway,
You know, I see that where I live, in Wesley over there, a lot of retired people, and when we talk, probably one of the conversations that always comes up is how to not spend all your money before you die, but to spend it all right as you die.
I tell my kids my goal is to die broke but not owe anybody anything.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just trying to warn them that there's not going to be a big pot of gold there.
Yeah, you live well
Enjoy it.
and enjoy it. Joyce she's always been a frugal saver. When she goes in a store, she has clearance rack radar. And she zipped right off to the work. And the other day we were looking at our accounts and she said, you know, we really ought to spend more money. You know,
Yeah, now's the time.
yeah. So, you know, Soren Kierkegaard, this is just an aside. Soren Kierkegaard, who was a philosopher, when his father died, he left Kierkegaard an estate, money. And Kierkegaard took that and he put it into 5 different accounts. And the 5th one was a small amount, but the other ones were a large amount. And so he would live, he'd spend the first allotment, he'd spend the second allotment, he'd spend the 3rd allotment, he spent the 4th allotment, and he was on his way home from the bank with the money from the 5th allotment, and he died on the street. So
So that's your die broke.
that was the
Not knowing
5th.
anything.
The 5th allotment paid for his final expenses. So, but you know, we're not always that fortunate.
Well, we're all raised different too.
Yes,
I mean, we really are.
It's kind of interesting living in the Methodist commune up here on the northwest corner. People have different ways of expressing it, but we all acknowledge that we're in God's waiting room.
Yeah. That's a good nice one.
God's waiting room.
That's so true.
You know, and most everybody, at least that I associate with, is very much at peace with where they are. And they know that they're in the right facility, complex there for whatever needs may come up. So.
I was hoping it was about Gypsy, but it wasn't.
Oh, okay. Well,
Sorry.
When you get people like us together, we all have, as Stan said, a different opinion on how to treat it. But our parents have an even more different concept. They lived through the Depression. And I remember when I had my insurance business, calling on people, we talk about, do you want to invest in a mutual fund or something? And I had this one lady who said, I keep my money under my mattress. She said, I know that's a joke for a lot of people, but literally, I keep my money under the mattress. I keep some in a coffee can if I need it quick, so I don't have to go lift up the mattress. And she said, what do you think I ought to invest in? I said, I'd invest in your mattress. Because somebody who's gone through the Depression, gone through the bank failures, she is not going to be comfortable investing money.
Peace of
And
mind is worth a lot.
and I didn't want her calling me every day saying, I looked in the paper. The fund went down. And I explained it, until you surrender it, you haven't lost anything. I mean, the value will go up and down. But I decided early on I was not going to sell to people in that generation because
Their mindset.
their outlook was completely different from mine. I mean, I didn't go through the Depression, bank failures. My parents did. And, like those of us here, we all have parents who went through that. And they just didn't trust banks. No offense to First National. But people remember banks failing.
Yeah.
So, once burned, twice wary. So, well, let's see if there's some hope in chapter 15.
Okay. Whoever fears the Lord will do this, and whoever holds to the law will obtain wisdom. She will come to meet him like a mother, and like a young bride she will welcome him. She will feed him with the bread of learning, and give him the water of wisdom to drink. He will lean on her and not fall, and he will rely on her and not be put to shame. She will exalt him above his neighbor, and will open his mouth in the midst of the assembly. He will find gladness and a crown of rejoicing, and will inherit an everlasting name. The foolish will not obtain her, and sinners will not see her. She is far from arrogance, and liars will never think of her. Praise is unseemly on the lips of a sinner, for it has not been sent from the Lord. For in wisdom must praise be uttered, and the Lord will make it prosper. Freedom of choice. Do not say, it was the Lord's doing that I fell away, for he does not do what he hates. Do not say, it was he who led me astray, for he has no need of the sinful. The Lord hates all abominations. Such things are not loved by those who fear him. It was he who created humankind in the beginning, and he left them in the power of their own free choice. If you choose, you can keep the commandments, and to act faithfully is a matter of your own choice. He has placed before you fire and water. Stretch out your hand for whichever you choose. Before each person are life and death, and whichever one chooses will be given. For great is the wisdom of the Lord. He is mighty in power and sees everything. His eyes are on those who fear him, and he knows every human action. He has not commanded anyone to be wicked, and he has not given anyone permission to sin.
Okay. This whole concept of freedom that's talked about towards the end. One of the classes I took in seminary was run by the former dean who would come back as an instructor. It was freedom, authority, and responsibility, where we read a lot of articles on freedom and how freedom was represented. I remember one of the articles we read was a history of the Russians marching into Poland with tanks. And the gist of it was, if you have freedom, you have responsibility, and you become your own authority.
If you have what?
You become your own authority.
No, you begin, the first you said.
If you have freedom,
Freedom, okay.
you have a responsibility to yourself. I mean, you choose freedom, you're responsible for what you get. And you become the authority in what you have. And, you know, we don't always think in those terms. You know, it's a hard thing for us to admit that we did something stupid. If you're a parent, you know how that feels. Trying to raise your kids, trying to do the right thing is a hard thing. And, you know, I can remember talking to my daughter saying, I really would like to just take my belt and swat you on your behind. But I don't believe in corporal punishment. But I don't know what in the hell to do. I don't know how to change her behavior. I look back on it, her behavior wasn't that bad. It was better than mine. But, you know, when you give somebody freedom, like a child, you've got to accept the freedom they choose. Nobody, we lived on a boulevard when we lived in Flint, appropriately named Chevrolet Avenue. The road went down and it ended up at the Chevrolet plant, one of the Chevrolet plants in Flint. And since it was a boulevard, there were 2 lanes going one way, then there was a grassy area, and then 2 lanes going the other way. And I always said to Christina, you don't cross that street by yourself. And one day she came to the dinner table and I said, what'd you do today? She said, well, I went to my friend's house. And I said, doesn't she live on the other side of Chevrolet Avenue? And she said, yeah. I said, don't you know I'm supposed to take you across? She said, Dad, you taught me I gotta look both ways. And I did. And I'm saying, you know, my stomach was in knots. But I had to realize that she had the freedom to make that decision.
And you had taught her what she needed to know.
Yeah. And you know, freedom, authority, and responsibility. She was responsible in that. No one takes their kid to the highway and says, you're now old enough to cross the road on your own. All of us have kids who have just done something like that. And then, you know, we kind of feel our stomach going in knots, but, you know, otherwise.
I know. I feel like I was in 2nd grade.
She was in 2nd grade, and she
I
went to,
hated school. I did not like my teacher.
was it across from Washington Heights? Or was
That
that?
was Wiley.
Oh, it was Wiley.
So on like 21st and Tyler.
She walked all the way to my mother's house at
Maple?
1015 North Maple
Maple, it was Maple and
at noon.
17th. No, 11th and Maple.
Yeah.
In 2nd grade. I remember a lady, I was crossing Main Street. It felt so massive. And this lady drove by and she's like, are you okay? I was like, I'm going to my grandma's house. Oh my god.
No, he said that. It sure made me think of that.
I know.
I was like, and they called me and I don't
If
know.
Layton or Carter would have done that, I would have lost my mind. But now we're in a new station of life and Carter is driving now. So
Yes.
that is
That's-
scary.
You know, And you hope all the stuff you taught them, they remember.
Mm-hmm.
Although I remember I had a good friend in high school that had a car, and some of the stuff we did.
Yeah.
And we didn't want our kids doing some of the stuff we
Oh.
did.
Yeah.
That's part of the,
There was a country road that went through a field, and he had a little car like a Volkswagen, but I don't think it was a Volkswagen. And we were seniors. We had our caps and gowns. We were in the car. There were 4 of us, and he was doing road racing through there, skidding the car. There was a concrete slab that was the bridge, and he didn't keep all the wheels on the bridge.
Oh,
So, it kind of, the right driver's side tire was off. 3 of us climbed out of the car. We got down and we picked the car up, put it back on the bridge. We continued the race.
I thought you were going to tell us, you said goodbye. Just walked away and left it.
You look back on things like that and you wonder how you lived. I mean, some of the dumb stuff. Now, cars today are a lot faster. They're theoretically safer, but you got to wear your seatbelt and things like that. So anyway, God, what is the saying? God looks out for stupid people. All right, we at 16.
God's punishment of sinners. Do not desire a multitude of worthless children, and do not rejoice in ungodly offspring. If they multiply, do not rejoice in them, unless the fear of the Lord is in them. Do not trust in their survival and rely on their numbers, for one can be better than 1,000, and to die childless is better than to have ungodly children. For through one intelligent person a city can be filled with people, but through a clan of outlaws it becomes desolate. Many such things my eye has seen, and my ear has heard things more striking than these. In assembly of sinners a fire is kindled, and in a disobedient nation wrath blazes up. He did not forgive the ancient giants who revolted in their mind. He did not spare the neighbors of Lot, whom he loathed on account of their arrogance. He showed no pity on the doomed nation, on those dispossessed because of their sins, or on the 600,000 foot soldiers who assembled in their stubbornness. Even if there were only one stiff-necked person, it would be a wonder if he remained unpunished. For mercy and wrath are with the Lord. He is mighty to forgive, but he also pours out wrath. Great as is his mercy, so also his chastisement. He judges a person according to his or her deeds. The sinner will not escape with plunder, and the patience of the godly will not be frustrated. He makes room for every act of mercy. Everyone receives in accordance with his or her deeds. Do not say, I am hidden from the Lord, and who from on high has me in mind. Among those many people I am unknown, for what am I in a boundless creation? Lo, heaven and the highest heaven, the abyss and the earth, tremble at his visitation. The very mountains and the foundations of the earth quiver and quake when he looks upon them. But no human mind can grasp this, and who can comprehend his ways? Like a tempest that no one can see, so most of his works are concealed. Who is to announce his acts of justice, or who can await them? For his decree is far off. Such are the thoughts of one devoid of understanding, and senseless and misguided person thinks foolishly. God's wisdom seen in creation. Listen to me, my child, and acquire knowledge, and pay close attention to my words. I will impart discipline precisely and declare knowledge accurately. When the Lord created his works from the beginning, and in making them determined their boundaries, he arranged his works in an eternal order, and their dominion for all generations. They neither hunger nor grow weary, and they do not abandon their task. They do not crowd one another, and they never disobey his word. Then the Lord looked upon the earth and filled it with his good things. With all kinds of living beings he covered its surface, and into it they must return.
Okay. The verse 17, I think, is an interesting contrast to another book. Do not say, I am hidden from the Lord. Who is there in heaven to give thought to me? Among so many, I shall not be noticed. What is my life compared with the measureless creation? Remember in the book of Job? Job is constantly going to God saying, why has all this stuff happened to me? You know, I've tried to be a good man. Why? Why me, Lord? In fact, they wrote a hymn about that. Why me, Lord? But God responds to Job after the third event. And what does God say? Hey, I got goats and antelope up in the mountains. I got to worry about them getting pregnant and having babies. I've got rain to pour on crops. You think I sit up here all day thinking about you? And here, this guy's saying the same thing. Do not say, I am hidden for the Lord, who is there in heaven to give a thought to me. Among so many, I shall not be noticed. And the very mountain and the foundations of the world tremble when he looks upon them. What human mind can grasp this or comprehend his ways? Who is to declare his act of justice or wait for his remote decree? These are the thoughts of a small mind, the absurdities of a senseless and misguided man. So, this guy's saying initially, God's not looking out for me. Up in heaven, there's a lot of things he has to do. And from Job, we know that's true. But this guy then ends that section by saying, these are the thoughts of a small mind. God looks at all of us. I mean, there are times I hope he's looking some other direction. We've all done that when there's something we shouldn't have done. Yet, guess what? He's still looking out for us. And the thing I don't think we grasp is how big God is. I mean, we think in our own limited mind, we don't think of our families all the time. How many children do you have?
One.
Okay, Brent.
Mm-hmm.
I just have one too. But, I think about her, but there are times I'm thinking about her children. I'm not always thinking about my daughter. You're probably not always thinking about your daughter. When she's in the hospital.
I say pretty much.
Yeah. When she's in the hospital, you may think about her a lot.
Yeah.
But, there are times that,
Yeah.
and we've got to remember, God's not like our little brains. God has that power to care about everybody. Nobody is left off the list. And, this guy's saying in Ecclesiasticus, Sirach is writing, hey, don't say I'm a minuscule part of God's creation. He can't be thinking about me all the time, because that's how people think. But that's not the way God thinks. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I feel God has intervened in my life in interesting ways. It's like the time I was trying to get in to see a orthopedic guy because I thought I had a bad hip. So I called the hospital to get in to see the orthopedist at the clinic, or called the clinic. And the woman said, well, I can get you in 2 weeks. And I said, I can't go 2 weeks. And then she said, I see you see Dr. Nuvid. I said, yes, I do. She said, I saw him this morning to get a shot in my hip. And I said, when's his next appointment? And she said, day after tomorrow. I went in, got my shots. It was bursitis. The pain has been gone. It may be silly. And some people would say, well, you're just making things up. But I honestly believe that God had that woman answer the phone. Because there are a lot of people who answer phones and do appointments at the clinic. But to have that woman who said, I saw Nuvid this morning and I got a shot in my hip and in my knee, I never would have thought of seeing Nuvid for that. And now Harold's going to go over and see if he can help him. So I honestly believe that somehow God looks out for all of us. I mean,
I don't believe in coincidences. There's too many things. I mean, there might be an occasional one, but there's too many things that just had to have some guidance to,
Yeah.
to have happened to.
yeah, I mean, it's, you know, you look back through your life and, you know, there are things that you might have discounted as an accident or just something that happened. But as a minister, there have been times where I've called on somebody from my congregation and they said, we really, we'd like to meet with you. We just thought you were too busy. You know, God helps. God directs me. I mean, I've gone to the hospital to call on somebody and I look at the roster and say, oh, I didn't know so-and-so was in here. So I end up seeing somebody else who says, oh, I'm so happy you're here. I honestly think God directs us in these things.
I don't like to call anything a coincidence, but I feel it kind of discredits God's work.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's God. God is a powerful God. I remember when I was first out of seminary, I had hair down to my shoulders. I wore a leather headband. I wore earth shoes, corduroys. I mean, I was a hippie. And remember one day the rector, the senior pastor, said to me, I can't remember the woman's name, but so-and-so, she's in the hospital. And she's an older lady. And he said, I saw her yesterday, and she's not doing well. We think she's on the way out. But she likes you. And he said, you don't have that many people who like you in that age group. And he said,
Qualified in that age group.
yeah. So he said, if I were you, I'd go to the hospital and see her. So I went to the hospital, saw her, had a prayer with her. The next day I got a call from the rector. And he said, what did you do at the hospital? I said, David, I had a prayer with her, did a laying on of hands. Did I do something wrong? Did she die? He said, no, they're discharging her today. That's not me, that's God. You know. Now, if I were a Pentecostal, I would have said, you know, God, we can make some money with these hands. But as an Episcopalian, I just put them in my pocket and kept going on. But, you know, God's
the power
power,
of prayer.
yeah, God's power is beyond our comprehension. I mean, if God can love us, knowing what we have done and who we are, we can't comprehend that because we don't love everybody. We say we do.
We're lying to ourselves.
Yeah, but I got a list of people I don't care much for. Now I say I love them, but I don't. I have to edit this tape again. Okay, let's move into 17.
The Lord created human beings out of earth and makes them return to it again. He gave them a fixed number of days, but granted them authority over everything on the earth. He endowed them with strength like his own and made them in his own image. He put the fear of them in all living beings and gave them dominion over beasts and birds. Discretion and tongue and eyes, ears, and a mind for thinking he gave them. He filled them with knowledge and understanding and showed them good and evil. He put the fear of him into their hearts to show them the majesty of his works. And they will praise his holy name to proclaim the grandeur of his works. He bestowed knowledge upon them and allotted to them the law of life. He established with them an eternal covenant and revealed to them his decrees. Their eyes saw his glorious majesty and their ears heard the glory of his voice. He said to them, beware of all evil, and he gave commandment to each of them concerning the neighbor. Their ways are always known to him. They will not be hid from his eyes.
Now, let's just pause for just a minute. Verse 11. He gave them knowledge as well as endowed them with the life-giving law. You know what the law is? That's the Mosaic law. 10 Commandments. He gave them the law. And he established a perpetual covenant with them. Jeremiah. I will be your God, you will be my people. Revealed to him his decrees, and their eyes saw his glorious majesty, and their ears heard the glory of his voice. He said to them, guard against all wrongdoing, and taught each man his duty towards his neighbor. And what law is that? Love your neighbor. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Their ways are always known to him. They will not be hid from his eyes. He appointed a ruler for every nation, but Israel is the Lord's own portion. All their works are as clear as the sun before him, and his eyes are ever upon their ways. Their iniquities are not hidden from him, and all their sins are before the Lord. One's almsgiving is like a signet ring with the Lord, and he will keep a person's kindness like the apple of his eye. Afterward he will rise up and repay them, and he will bring their recompense on their heads. Yet to those who repent he grants a return and encourages those who are losing hope. A call to repentance. Turn back to the Lord and forsake your sins. Pray in his presence and lessen your offense. Return to the Most High and turn away from iniquity, and hate intensely what he abhors. Who will sing praises to the Most High in Hades, in place of the living who give thanks? From the dead, as from one who does not exist, thanksgiving has ceased. Those who are alive and well sing the Lord's praises. How great is the mercy of the Lord, and his forgiveness for those who return to him. For not everything is with him capability, since human beings are not immortal. What is brighter than the sun? Yet it can be eclipsed, so flesh and blood devise evil. He marshals the host of the height of heaven, but all human beings are dust and ashes.
Doesn't sound good for us. I mentioned freedom, authority, responsibility. We're now down to the responsibility thing. Verse 25, turn to the Lord and have done with sin. Make your prayer in his presence, so lessen your offense. Come back to the Lord, renounce wrongdoing, and hate intensely what he abhors. To be responsible, what that's saying is, be responsible for what you did wrong. I mean, that's a hard thing for us to accept, responsibility. And I think we learn that as kids. Did you do that? I mean,
Not me.
Yeah, not me. I remember Christina had this imaginary friend, Chrissy, and one day her room was a mess, toys all over the floor, and I said, you got to pick those up. She said, Chrissy put them out there. I said, well, Chrissy can't come back until this room is clean. She picked him up. But, we try to avoid responsibility. We've all done this. You say something that somebody's offended by, and you say, well, I was just joking.
Yeah.
We try to discount it as a joke. My wife learned that real quick. That was no joke. You knew what you were saying. I mean, it's being responsible. Part of finding God's forgiveness is being responsible for what you've done. And boy, that's a hard thing to do.
Especially when you might get in trouble for it.
That's right. That's right.
I always struggled with, in verse 3, made him in his own image. And for decades I thought image is visual.
Mhm.
And this person had different complexion than I do. I mean, nobody, they're the same image. But that's reference to the soul, not to the body.
Right. Right.
Reference to the what?
The soul.
Oh, very good.
That's I don't know if you've been watching the news this morning, but
I hate to watch that.
Oh, no.
Dr. Fauci is testifying before the Senate committee. And when I left, he had taken the Fifth Amendment 70-some times. One of the senators said to him, what color tie do you have on? I declined to, because of the Fifth Amendment. What color is the carpet in front of you? I declined to respond, declaring my Fifth Amendment right. So when anybody asked him a question, he'd say, take the Fifth Amendment. And finally, one of the senators, Hawley from Missouri, said, Dr. Fauci, you have already been granted, Biden gave you a pardon. So you don't have to take the Fifth Amendment. You've already been, no matter what you say, and you may be wrong, you've been pardoned already. Do you realize that? I declined. The hearing started off with Fauci's lawyer sitting next to him, who started explaining something, and
He got kicked out.
yeah, the chairman of the committee said, you're sitting at the table, that's where people we've called are sitting. You gotta leave the room. So they threw him out. But accepting responsibility. You did something wrong. None of us likes to accept responsibility, unless it was something we did that was really good. So
Good at taking credit for things, not so much for taking blame for things.
that's right. Yeah, I'm responsible for anything I did right. Anything I did wrong, that's somebody else's fault.
Not my fault.
So, all right. Can we get into 18?
The majesty of God. He who lives forever created the whole universe. The Lord alone is just. To none has he given power to proclaim his works. And who is that on?
Yep.
And who can search out his mighty deeds? Who can measure his majestic power? And who can fully recount his mercies? It is not possible to diminish or increase them, nor is it possible to fathom the wonders of the Lord. When human beings have finished, they are just beginning, and when they stop, they are still perplexed. What are human beings, and of what use are they? What is good in them, and what is evil? The number of days in their life is great if they reach 100 years. Like a drop of water from the sea and a grain of sand, so are a few years among the days of eternity. That is why the Lord is patient with them and pours out his mercy upon them. He sees and recognizes that their end is miserable. Therefore, he grants them forgiveness all the more. The compassion of human beings is for their neighbors, but the compassion of the Lord is for every living thing. He rebukes and trains and teaches them and turns them back as a shepherd his flock. He has compassion on those who accept his discipline and who are eager for his precepts. the right spirit in giving alms. My child, do not mix reproach with your good deeds, or spoil your gift by harsh words. Do not the dew give relief from the scorching heat? So a word is better than a gift. Indeed, does not a word surpass a good gift? Both are to be found in a gracious person. A fool is ungracious and abusive, and the gift of a grudging giver makes the eyes dim. The need of reflection and self-control. Before you speak, learn. Before you fall ill, take care of your health. Before judgment comes, examine yourself, and at the time of scrutiny you will find forgiveness. Before falling ill, humble yourself, and when you have sinned, repent. Let nothing hinder you from paying a vow promptly, and do not wait until death to be released from it. Before making a vow, prepare yourself. Do not be like one who puts the Lord to the test. Think of his wrath on the day of death and of the moment of vengeance when he turns away his face. In the time of plenty, think of the time of hunger. In days of wealth, think of poverty and need. From morning to evening, conditions change. All things move swiftly before the Lord. One who is wise is cautious in everything. When sin is all around, one guards against wrongdoing. Every intelligent person knows wisdom and praises the one who finds her. Those who are skilled in words become wise themselves and pour forth apt proverbs. Self-control. Do not follow your base desires, but restrain your appetites. If you allow your soul to take pleasure in base desire, it will make you the laughingstock of your enemies. Do not revel in great luxury, or you may become impoverished by its expense. Do not become a beggar by feasting with borrowed money when you have nothing in your purse.
Okay. This kind of harkens back to one of the, either Bell and the Dragon or one of those stories where the king was enthralled by the good-looking lady and she led him into being killed. So, do not let your passion be your guide, but restrain your desire. If he'd have done that, he wouldn't have been killed. This is really a nice passage and a good chapter. Before you speak, learn. Before you fall sick, consult a doctor. Before judgment comes, examine yourself, and you will find pardon in the hour of scrutiny. Before you fall ill, humble yourself. Show your repentance. As soon as you sin, let nothing hinder the prompt discharge of your vows. Do not wait until death to be absolved. So, good stuff. All right, we'll pick up with chapter 19 next week.